If you want to dive the best spots, the best way to get to them is usually on a dive boat. The most inspiring reefs, exciting marine life, and optimum diving conditions usually are just beyond a comfortable swimming distance from shore. But boats are more than just transportation. They're a relaxing way to spend a day on the water, and an excellent way to spend time socializing with old and new friends. Your boat diving trip begins long before you ever get on board. There are some very basic decisions that need to be made concerning the type of vacation you want to take. Different dive boats will offer various types of diving experiences. You will need to decide what it is you are most interested in doing. For example, are you a photographer? If so, there are many boats that cater to underwater photography, some with dark rooms and E6 developing, and for the digital photographer, computer labs and digital processing stations. You may want to do as much diving as your safe bottom time will allow, and that's great. But some people will want to combine diving with other activities, such as sightseeing, kayaking, or shopping. Once you've decided what activities you want to participate in, you need to pick the charter that can supply them all to you. There are basically three categories of boats used for diving: liveaboards, day trip boats, and personal boats. Liveaboards are large vessels designed to stay at sea for extended periods of time. You will obviously live on board the boat during your trip. Liveaboards are the best possible way to go if you want your vacation to be dive-intensive. With compressors on board and the boat traveling between great dive locations daily, you can choose to dive as often as you wish. Liveaboards come in every style from lavish to simple but comfortable. It is up to you, based on your budget and wants, to decide what kind of liveaboard suits your needs. The most commonly used dive boat is the day boat. Most charters are smaller than the average liveaboard, without all the amenities of the larger vessels. The number of dives you make is limited to the number of tanks brought on board by the operator. Day boats provide great flexibility on vacations. You choose the day and times you want to dive, and when you want to do other things. There are many sources available to help you in your selection of a dive boat and operator. In fact, your local SSI dealer has many trips already planned, and most likely one or two that fit your exact needs. Diving publications, internet websites, and travel agencies will often carry reviews of dive locations, boats, and operators. Your SSI dealer also has a comprehensive list and recommendations for you to use when planning your trip. Once you've chosen the type of diving you wish to do and the boat you want to do it from, there are some more specific questions that you will need to answer. Find out the total capacity of the boat, the average number of people on the boat, and the maximum capacity. What is the speed of the boat, and how long does it take on average to get to the dive sites? Does the boat have fresh water showers, shaded areas to relax, and are food and beverages offered during non-diving times? Does the boat have submersible platforms that ease the entry and exit process, or a submerged safety stop bar for you to hold on to while completing your 3 to 5 minute safety stop? How many boat crew and dive control specialists are on board to assist you? Are there enough to help divers get into and out of the water and supervise the rest of the group underwater? Also, ensure that the boat has the proper emergency equipment, such as fire extinguishers, oxygen and oxygen administration equipment, first aid kits for divers, and personal flotation devices. At minimum, a passenger orientation on boat safety, dive locations, missing buddy procedures, and emergency procedures should all be part of the crew's briefing. Last, find out what the cost of the trip is and what it does and does not include. Be sure to weigh all considerations when comparing the price of boats. Now is the time to make sure your total diving system is in good working order and get the new equipment that you need or want. To ensure proper service of your equipment, your SSI dealer offers the SSI Equipment Service Program. This program was developed so you would receive consistent, high-quality service for all of the elements of your total diving system. Through the Equipment Service Program, your air delivery system, information system, buoyancy control system, and exposure system are all thoroughly inspected by qualified service technicians to make sure they work as well as the day you purchased them. Be sure that you have your SSI Open Water Diver and Boat Diving certification with your SSI Total Dive Log. Boat operators will not allow you to dive without a C card, and many are now using the dive log as proof of your ability for diving in more advanced situations. When packing your personal items for your boat trip, be prepared for rainy or adverse conditions. You may not need this gear, but it's better to be safe than sorry. If you are subject to motion sickness, there are several commercial aids available to help you. Antacids, hard candy, Dramamine, scopolamine patches, and pressure bands are a few of the more common remedies. When preparing and packing your scuba equipment, place the items that you will be using first in the bag last, such as your regulator and BC. Items put on last, such as your mask and fins, should be placed in first. It is wise to mark all of your equipment. There will most likely be other pieces on board that are similar to yours. This will help avoid confusion and loss of your equipment. On the day of your boat trip, it is wise to be at the dock at least 1/2 hour before the scheduled departure. This will give you time to check in, stow your equipment where the crew directs you, and familiarize yourself with the craft. Depending on the crew's instructions, you may want to go ahead and assemble and store your equipment before the ride to the dive site. Be sure to check the air pressure in your cylinder before you leave the dock. It is helpful to know a few words of boat terminology so you will understand the directions of the crew. Your SSI Boat Diving Manual also has these listed for you to reference at any time. While orienting yourself with the vessel, be sure you learn the location of the head or bathroom and the galley, the kitchen equivalent, and pick out a bunk or bed if you are on a liveaboard equipped with these. You will be expected to observe some common boat courtesies while on board. Most importantly, remember that the captain is traditionally and legally in charge. Always follow his or her instructions while on board. Don't drop weight belts or cylinders on the deck. This can cause expensive damage to the boat, which you may be required to pay for. Keep your equipment together and in a single location to avoid wasting space. Stay clear of the crew quarters and work areas, and stay out of the engine room unless invited by a member of the crew. Generally, follow the common sense rules as listed in your SSI Boat Diving Manual. While on the way to the dive site, make a dive plan with your buddy. Discuss dive parameters and familiarize yourself with each other's total diving systems. An emergency is no time to find out how your buddy's BC inflates. While on the boat, it's always a good idea to practice common motion sickness prevention tactics. This includes avoiding fumes at the stern of the vessel and avoiding rocking motions by positioning yourself near the center line or middle of the boat, where motion is minimized. Get as much fresh air as possible. Should you become ill, do so over the leeward rail. Avoid doing so in the head, as this could cause complications. Seasickness can cause serious problems if symptoms strike underwater. If you believe that there is any chance that you may become ill while underwater, do not make the dive. The dive control specialists or dive masters on the boat will most likely conduct a pre-dive briefing to familiarize you with the conditions and the parameters of the dive. Listen carefully and follow the predetermined guidelines. Remember, when it comes to the dive leader's word is law. While getting ready, try to limit your space requirements and respect other people's space. Buddies should pace themselves to be ready to enter the water at the same time. Never enter the water until the captain or dive master has given you the okay. It is possible that you will be doing a drift dive, in which you will drift along with the current and the boat will pick you up at the end of the dive. When drift diving, the entire group will enter the water at the same time to prevent separation. Most boat diving, however, will be done with the boat anchored at or near the dive site. In an anchor dive, you will generally be allowed to enter as buddy teams. The dive master will discuss the dive plan in the pre-dive briefing. Be sure to check out with the dive leader as you leave the boat. When it is your turn to enter, either be ready to go or be prepared to move aside. Use the method of entry that allows the easiest and most comfortable transition from boat to water. The controlled seated entry is the best method from a low deck or platform. The most common entry is the step-in entry, also known as the giant stride. Make sure that the water is clear of divers before stepping in. If the entry point is higher, a feet-first entry may be more appropriate. Be sure to keep your feet together to break your landing. With any entry, make sure that your BC is 1/2 to 3/4 full, and hold your mask, regulator second stage, and weight release mechanism in place. This way, you will be able to see, breathe, and float the second you enter the water. If the water is calm, another option is to inflate your BC and place the entire scuba unit in the water. Now you can slip your equipment on in the water. This method prevents the problem of tight spaces on the boat and may be a problem in rough water. Avoid entering the water with cameras, spear guns, or other accessories. Have someone hand you these after you enter. Once in the water, stay clear of the entry point and wait for your buddy before descending. If you are anchor diving, be sure to conduct your dive into the current, that is, in the direction of the anchor, so you can drift back to the boat at the end of the dive. If you dive with the current, you will be facing a long swim back when you have less energy. Take a compass heading upon reaching the bottom to make it easier to find the boat at the end of the dive. Your SSI dealer offers the SSI navigation course, which will teach you how to navigate underwater using several different techniques and pieces of equipment, including your compass. Your dive boat may be equipped with a diver recall system, a system that makes a noise underwater that signals divers to return to the boat. Should you hear the recall, return to the boat immediately. Someone may be injured, or the weather may have gotten bad while you were diving. While diving, continually monitor your information system and location. You will want to have the boat located with 1,000 psi, or 70 bars, and be back on board with a minimum of 500 psi, or 35 bars in your cylinder. By using a compass, continually monitoring your location, and beginning the dive into the current, the odds of losing the boat are really quite small. If you become disoriented, stay with your buddy and surface together. Should you see the boat, but it is too far to swim back, use your signaling device to alert the boat crew to your location. Many boats require that you carry a signaling device at all times while diving. Be sure that you have one and are familiar with its use before diving. When it is time to return to the boat, it is a good idea to use the anchor or downline to control your ascent. Ascend at or slower than 30 feet or 9 meters per minute, and make a safety stop for at least 3 to 5 minutes at 15 feet or 5 meters. As you ascend, be sure to stay clear of the boat's hull and the dive platform or ladder. This becomes particularly important in rougher waters, as the wave action may cause these to strike a diver. Getting back on board will vary somewhat depending on the captain's preference. Most commercial dive boats will either have a dive platform, ladder, or sometimes both. The crew members will help you exit and instruct you in what to do. Time your exit so you climb on the platform or ladder when it is at the low point of any wave action. Hang on and ride the waves up. Leave your mask and regulator, second stage, or snorkel in place until you are out of the water. This way, you'll be able to see and breathe if you fall back in the water. Be sure to check back in with the dive leader. You do not want to delay the boat, or worse, have someone go looking for you when you have been on board for some time. If you're on a multiple cylinder dive, go ahead and set up your equipment for the next dive. You will probably want to rest and get something to eat between dives. In any case, be sure to drink plenty of non-alcoholic drinks, preferably water. The combination of compressed gas, salt water, and sun has a tendency to dehydrate a diver and increase the risk of decompression sickness. Use the surface interval time to figure your no decompression limits for the next dive. This is also a great time to log your first dive. Your logged dives will count toward advanced experience ratings and are a great way to remember your trip. While we have been discussing diving from a liveaboard or day boat, you should know that there is some spectacular diving available from private boats. The captain of the private vessel is responsible for the safety of both the divers aboard and the preservation of the environment. When anchoring a private boat, be sure to cause no damage to the coral, kelp beds, or other natural features. Most of the same guidelines apply as on a larger boat, but room is usually at a true premium in these smaller craft. You may want to get ready one at a time, or if possible, put your equipment on in the water. From a low-sided craft, especially from rubber boats, the back roll is an excellent method of entering the water. While holding on to the mask, simply roll off the side of the boat, allowing the cylinder to break the water for you. It is preferable to leave someone on board during the dive to watch the boat and to assist in the exit and re-entry. However, this is not always possible. If exiting with everyone still in the water, it may be best to remove your scuba unit, handing it to your buddy. A powerful kick should help propel you up and on the boat. You may then assist with the exit of all the other divers. There are many particulars to diving from a private boat. Consult your SSI boat diving manual to assist you in this activity. Boat diving is one of the most special of diving experiences. Being able to reach out-of-the-way places will give you the opportunity to dive sites that few shore divers will ever see. And the camaraderie with your fellow boat divers will be like no other. With some basic training from your SSI boat diving instructor, you will open up a whole new world of diving adventure. On behalf of SSI, your SSI dealer, and your SSI instructor, we welcome you to a new and exciting realm of scuba diving.